They say life throws curveballs when you least expect it, and at 71, I figured I'd seen them all. My days were supposed to be a quiet rhythm of books, maybe some watercolors, and the occasional visit from family. Then Jake moved in next door. It started with friendly chats over the fence, guitar music drifting from his apartment into my living room every evening. Harmless, I told myself. Just a little company, a break from the quiet routine. But things shifted, I shifted. Keeping it hidden wasn't easy, especially when my daughter Jessica came back home, her life in pieces, needing me to be solid ground. I was living double lives. The dependable mom Jessica knew, and this other woman rediscovering a pulse I thought was long gone. But secrets have teeth, and the walls I'd built started to crack. My quiet life suddenly became a mess of secrets, accusations, choices I never saw coming. Looking back, I wonder, was any of it worth the fire? The first time I heard Jake play, I was watering the window boxes, geraniums bright red against the brick. His music floated through the open window, a soulful melody that yanked memories out of the shadows, memories I thought were buried deep. I peeked out, trying to catch a glimpse. He was young, younger than I'd imagined, lean with dark, wavy hair, totally absorbed as his fingers flew over the fretboard. I watched him for a minute, lost in the music, lost in the look on his face, like he was somewhere else entirely. A few days later, out in my tiny backyard, I saw him working on his little patch of green, setting up pots of herbs and flowers. "Hey there," I called over, and he looked up, surprised, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Hope I'm not playing too loud?" "Oh no," I said, caught off guard by how genuine he seemed. "I love it. Your music, it takes me back." He looked intrigued, coming closer to the chain-link fence that separated our yards. "Takes you back where?" I hesitated, suddenly shy. "To when I felt more alive, I guess." He nodded, thoughtful. "Music does that, doesn't it? I'm Jake, by the way." I told him my name, and that was it. Just a friendly hello to the new neighbor. Nothing more. That's what I kept telling myself. Jake and I started talking more, those fence-line chats stretching longer, digging deeper. We shared pieces of ourselves. He talked about the grind of being a musician in the city, feeling out of step with his family's expectations, the loneliness of chasing a dream. I listened, understanding more than I expected. Then I'd share bits of my own life, stories from my younger days, raising Jessica, my old passion for painting that had faded to gray. Jake actually listened, really listened, asking questions that pulled forgotten moments back into the light. With him, I felt seen, not just as a widow or a mother, but as me, Eleanor. One evening, the sun sinking low, the air turning cool, we were sitting on my back steps, sharing mugs of tea. I looked at him, a sudden jolt realizing how much he'd become woven into my days, my thoughts. He had this way of bringing lightness into the conversation, even in quiet moments. And for the first time in years, I felt truly happy. But that happiness had a dark edge, a knot of fear tightening in my stomach. Was this connection real, or just something I was imagining, a desperate grab for company I hadn't dared to admit I craved? As we sat there, he turned to me, his eyes searching mine. "Eleanor," he said, his voice low, "have you ever felt like you were meant to meet someone, even if it doesn't make sense?" His words hit like a shockwave, something I hadn't braced for. "Yes," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I think I know exactly what you mean." In that moment, everything shifted. Our neighborly chats weren't so simple anymore. We'd crossed a line, stepped into something deeper, something that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Jessica's arrival was a jolt, a total surprise. I opened the front door, and there she was, suitcase in hand, looking wrecked. "A bad breakup," she mumbled. "Some guy who'd turned her life upside down. She needed to regroup. She needed her mom." Of course, I welcomed her in, arms wide open. My own tangled feelings about Jake, that secret little flame, got shoved to the back burner. Having Jessica home was comforting, familiar. We fell back into old patterns, cooking together, late-night talks, rediscovering the mother-daughter bond that had gotten frayed over the years. But Jessica was sharp, sharper than I'd given her credit for. She picked up on the changes, the little things, the distracted look in my eyes, the way I hesitated whenever Jake's name came up. One evening, washing dishes after dinner, she turned to me, a curious look in her eyes. "Mom," she said, "you seem different lately, happier even. Is there someone in your life?" Her question caught me cold. My heart hammered in my chest. "Oh, Jess," I stammered, trying to play it light. "It's just having you home, honey." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "If there's something you want to share, Mom, I'm here. That night, after she'd gone to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen, the weight of my choices pressing down on me. My connection with Jake wasn't just friendly anymore, and I knew it would only get more complicated with Jessica here. But ending it? That felt impossible. He'd become too important, too meaningful in ways I hadn't seen coming. Jake and I met one evening in the little alleyway between our buildings, drawn together by some unspoken pull. He looked at me, his expression soft, and for a long moment we just stood there, silent. Then, without thinking, he reached for my hand, his touch warm, steady. "Eleanor," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what this is between us, but I can't ignore it. Being with you, it feels like I'm where I'm supposed to be." His words resonated deep in my soul, filling a space I hadn't even realized was empty. A rush of emotion surged through me, joy, guilt, a dizzying mix. And then, without another thought, I leaned in. Our lips met. A kiss that was both tender and charged with longing. In that moment, the city noise faded, the world narrowed down to just the warmth of his touch, the softness of his breath. It was a moment of pure connection, a raw reminder that love could bloom in the most unexpected places. But as we pulled apart, reality slammed back into focus. I was a mother, a widow, a woman who'd lived her life by certain rules. And here I was, risking everything for a love that was as beautiful as it was forbidden. Our relationship became a carefully guarded secret, a stolen love lived in hidden moments, whispered words, shared glances when no one was looking. We met in quiet corners of the city, our conversations filled with laughter, our stolen time together a sanctuary from the judgments of the world. But secrecy has a price. The weight of it grew heavier with each day. Jessica was always around, her perceptive eyes making it harder to keep my love for Jake hidden. And yet, I couldn't let go. He'd become a part of me, a source of joy I hadn't known in years. One evening, after Jessica went out with friends, Jake came over. We shared a quiet dinner by candlelight in my small dining room. As he looked at me, his eyes full of warmth, full of love, a sense of peace settled over me, a happiness that felt fragile, precious. But even in those moments of joy, a shadow lingered. I knew our love, as beautiful as it was built on a foundation of secrecy and risk. And with Jessica so close, I feared the walls I'd built to protect us would soon come crashing down. The first hints of Jessica's suspicion were subtle. A quick glance, a questioning look whenever I came back in from the backyard, or when Jake's name slipped into conversation. It was like she could sense something was off, something I wasn't saying. One afternoon, I saw Jessica and her friend Sophia sitting on the stoop, heads bent close, deep in conversation. Sophia had always been Jessica's confidant, someone she leaned on, someone who shared her secrets. But there was a different energy in their conversation that day, a sharpness that made me uneasy. That evening, clearing the dinner plates, Jessica turned to me, her voice calm but edged with something else. "Mom," she said, "I've noticed you've been spending a lot of time with Jake. He's an interesting friend, isn't he?" Her words were a subtle probe, a reminder that I was walking a tightrope. I forced a smile, trying to keep it light. "He's a nice young man, Jess. I enjoy talking to him. It's good to get a different perspective." Jessica exchanged a look with Sophia, who raised an eyebrow. "Different perspective? Is that what they're calling it these days?" Sophia's tone was sharper than usual. A wave of defensiveness washed over me, but I kept my voice steady. "I'm not sure what you mean, Sophia. Jake is a neighbor, a friend, nothing more." But Sophia's knowing look lingered, and as the evening wore on, I felt the weight of their watchful eyes. A constant reminder that the life I was hiding was teetering on the edge of exposure. Days turned into weeks, and Sophia's quiet investigation intensified. Little comments, pointed questions, all designed to make me squirm. I realized Jessica, fueled by Sophia's suspicions, was growing increasingly wary, her usual warmth replaced by a guarded distance that stung. Then, one evening, there was a knock at the door. Robert, an old family friend, someone my late husband had trusted implicitly. Robert had always looked out for me, especially after Tom died, offering a steady hand when I felt like I was drowning. Seeing him standing there brought a confusing mix of relief and dread. I knew this wasn't just a social call. "Eleanor," he began, after we were settled in the living room, the city sounds muffled by the apartment walls. "I've heard things I don't quite understand. Jessica and Sophia have been talking, and I wanted to hear it from you directly." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my face from betraying anything. "What exactly have they told you, Robert?" "They're worried, Eleanor. Jessica thinks you've gotten close to Jake. too close for comfort. She's worried you're making choices that could hurt the family, hurt her. His voice was gentle, but the weight of his words was heavy, a stark reminder of the boundaries I'd crossed. I looked away, unable to meet his gaze. Robert, I didn't plan any of this. Jake and we found something unexpected, something that brought me joy. I know it's unconventional, but it's real. Robert's expression softened, but the concern remained etched on his face. Eleanor, I don't doubt the sincerity of your feelings, but Jessica, she's struggling to understand. And Sophia, she's feeding her doubts. You need to be careful, Eleanor. You need to think about the impact of your choices on your family. His words hung in the air long after he left, a cold reminder that my love for Jake, however real, had consequences that stretched far beyond our stolen moments. I knew if I kept going down this path, I risked losing everything that truly mattered. The tension in the apartment thickened, an unspoken weight that settled over every conversation, every glance. I tried to act normal, to keep up the facade, but Jessica and Sophia's watchful eyes were always there, tracking my every move. Every stolen moment with Jake became a carefully calculated risk. One evening, Jessica announced she was going out with Sophia for a few hours, a small window of freedom. As soon as she was gone, I called Jake, a desperate need to be with him, even for just a little while. He came over quickly, and for a few precious hours, the weight of secrecy lifted. We talked, laughed, held each other close, the city noise fading into the background. But as he leaned in to kiss me, a familiar sound cut through the quiet. Headlights sweeping across the living room window. My heart leaped into my throat. Jessica. She was back early. I pulled away from Jake, a frantic gesture, motioning him towards the back door. Just as he slipped out of sight, the front door opened and Jessica walked in, her expression unreadable. I forced a smile, trying to look composed, my heart still pounding. Jess, you're back earlier than I expected. She narrowed her eyes, her gaze sweeping the room, missing nothing. Looks like I interrupted something. Who was here, Mom? The accusation in her voice hit me like a punch. My face flushed crimson. No one, Jess. I was just straightening up. But she wasn't buying it. Her suspicion hardened into certainty. You know, Mom, she said, her voice low and tight. I may have been away, but I'm not blind. Something's going on, and I'd really appreciate the truth. Her words echoed in the silence after she left for her room, a stark warning. The fragile web of lies was unraveling, my hidden love on the brink of exposure. Jessica's suspicion finally boiled over. She confronted me one evening, her face tight with hurt and confusion. Mom, she began, her voice shaking slightly. I've tried to be patient, to give you space, but I can't ignore what's right in front of me. Are you involved with Jake? Her question was a blade, slicing through the carefully constructed walls. I took a deep breath, searching for words, any words. Jessica, I started, my voice trembling. Jake and we've become close. But it's more complicated than you think. Complicated? Her voice rose, disbelief and anger warring in her eyes. Mom, he's younger than me. What could you possibly have in common with him? Don't you see how wrong this is? I looked away, shame burning my cheeks. Jessica, I never meant for this to happen. He made me feel alive again, like I hadn't in years. I know it's unconventional, but it's real. My explanation did nothing to soften her anger. What about Dad? What about the life you built together? Doesn't that mean anything to you? Her words hit like stones, each accusation a painful reminder of the loyalty I'd once sworn to my late husband, a love I thought would never be replaced. And yet, here I was, risking everything for this connection I couldn't deny. Jessica, I loved your father deeply, but he's gone. And I've spent years just trying to fill that emptiness. Jake brought something back into my life. Something I didn't even know I was missing. Her gaze softened, but the hurt still lingered in her eyes. I just don't understand, Mom. I thought I knew you, but now I don't know what to think. With that, she turned and walked out of the room, leaving me standing alone, the crushing weight of my choices pressing down, a constant, suffocating reminder that love, even in its most unexpected forms, always came with a price I could no longer ignore. The next day, Jake sensed something was wrong. He came over, concern etched on his face. Eleanor, he said, his voice soft, I know this hasn't been easy, and I don't want to be the reason you're hurting. I looked at him, feeling the warmth of his presence, the depth of the connection between us. "Jake," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion, "you've been a source of joy in my life. A gift I never expected, but this has come at a cost I hadn't anticipated." He nodded, his gaze turning thoughtful. "There's something I need to tell you, Eleanor." He paused, taking a deep breath. "I didn't come to this neighborhood by chance. I knew who you were, who your husband was. I looked up to him, even though we never met. I came here because I wanted to understand the life he'd built, the legacy he left." His confession hit me like a physical blow, a dizzying mix of surprise and betrayal. A coldness spread through me. This wasn't chance, it was calculated. "Jake," I whispered, stunned. I don't know what to say." My world tilted on its axis, the foundation of our connection suddenly crumbling. My trust in him wavered, shattered. He reached for my hand, his touch gentle, pleading. "I didn't mean for things to go this far, Eleanor, but I fell in love with you. I fell in love with the life you've created, the strength you have, and I don't want to lose that." His words brought tears to my eyes, a painful mix of love and sorrow, leaving me both comforted and utterly torn. Our love, however genuine it felt, was built on a lie, a foundation I could no longer trust. A harsh reminder that the choices I'd made had consequences that reached far beyond our hidden moments. After Jake's confession, the weight of our relationship settled on me, heavier than ever. The idea that he'd sought me out because of my late husband's legacy, not by accident, tainted everything we'd shared. The sincerity I'd clung to now felt murky, clouded by doubt. But beneath the confusion and hurt, my feelings for him, however complicated, were still real. Yet, Jessica's raw pain and Robert's warning echoed in my mind, reminding me of my responsibilities, the loyalty I owed my family. One afternoon, walking in my small garden, choked with city grime and hardy blooms, Jake found me. His expression was a mix of hope and resignation. "Eleanor," he began, reaching for my hand, "I know things haven't gone the way we thought, but I'm willing to fight for this if you are." His words hung in the air, offering a lifeline, yet tangled with conflict. I looked at him, feeling the pull of our connection, the unexpected joy he'd brought into my life, now overshadowed by turmoil. "Jake," I whispered, my voice thick with unshed tears, "what we have, it is beautiful, but it's also broken. My daughter, my family, they need me to be their rock. And right now, our relationship is causing them more pain than joy." He nodded slowly, his gaze filled with sorrow, with acceptance. "I understand, Eleanor. I never wanted to hurt you or your family. I want you to know I love you, and that's real, no matter how it started." We stood there, hands intertwined, the city noise a distant hum, both knowing this was goodbye. As he turned to leave, a wave of grief washed over me, mingled with a strange sense of relief, a bittersweet ache. Sometimes love meant knowing when to let go. In the days that followed, I focused on healing the rift with Jessica. The air between us was still thick with unspoken things, but I saw a flicker of understanding in her eyes, a willingness to move forward. One evening, sitting together on the stoop as the city lights began to twinkle, I took a deep breath and spoke. "Jessica," I said, "I know the last few weeks have been hard, and I want you to know I never meant to hurt you or dishonor your father's memory. I was lonely, more than I even realized. And Jake, he reminded me of parts of myself I thought were gone." Jessica looked at me, her gaze softer now, a mix of compassion and lingering pain. "I think I understand, Mom," she said quietly. It was a shock. And seeing you with someone so young, it made me question everything." I reached for her hand, grateful for her honesty. "I know it was unexpected, and I'm sorry for the pain it caused you. And your father, he'll always be my foundation, the love of my life. But I also needed to find something for myself in these years since he's been gone. I hope you can understand." She nodded, thoughtful. "I think I can, and I want you to be happy, Mom, even if it doesn't always make sense to me." We shared a long, quiet hug, a fragile bridge rebuilt, a moment of forgiveness that felt like a fresh start. The weight of guilt began to lift, replaced by a quiet acceptance. Robert became a steady presence in my life again, his friendship a quiet comfort. He'd stop by with flowers from the corner deli, or just for a cup of coffee and conversation. His steady strength was a reminder that while romantic love could be a whirlwind, friendship and loyalty were the anchors that truly held you steady. With the emotional storm passing, I found myself drawn back to my painting. Hours in my small studio, brushes in hand, pouring everything onto canvas. Each stroke felt like a release, a way to process the complex tangle of love, loss, and healing. I thought about Jake, acknowledging both the joy he'd brought and the hard lessons learned. One afternoon, I started writing, filling page after page with memories of our stolen moments, the laughter, the conversations that had made me feel young again. It was a farewell of sorts, a way to honor what we'd shared while finally letting go. As I wrote, I realized Jake's presence, however brief, had given me something precious, a renewed sense of self, a reminder that life held beauty even in unexpected places. Our time together, a gift, a fleeting chapter that would always be a part of me. My reflections brought a quiet peace, a strength that allowed me to look ahead. I started reconnecting with old friends, finding small joys in the everyday. I even volunteered at a local community center, offering art classes to seniors. The classes were a revelation, bringing a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. The students, each with their own story etched on their faces, brought a vibrant energy to the room. Their eagerness to learn, to create, reminded me of the simple joy of art itself. In their company, my own creativity sparked anew, each lesson a reminder of the beauty hidden in ordinary moments. Robert would occasionally drop by the center, his quiet support a constant in my life. We'd grab lunch afterwards, sharing stories, easy laughter filling the space between us. Our friendship deepened, a slow, comfortable growth, a reminder that love came in many forms, each valuable in its own way. As weeks turned into months, a sense of contentment settled over me. I was finally at peace, ready to embrace whatever came next. Months later, I found myself at an art gallery opening downtown. The city thrummed with energy, the gallery buzzing with voices, art lovers drawn to the bold colors and sharp lines on display. Walking through the space, I felt a sense of belonging, a connection to the vibrant world of creativity that had always been a part of me. I struck up a conversation with another artist, a woman with kind eyes and a shared passion for capturing the fleeting moments of life. We talked for a long time, sharing stories of our creative journeys, the struggles, the triumphs. In her company, a spark of possibility ignited, a reminder that life still held endless surprises. Looking around the gallery, I realized my journey with Jake, though short and intense, had led me here to this place of self-discovery, growth, and renewed purpose. He'd been a catalyst, a spark that had reignited my passion for life, for art, for connection. And though he was no longer part of my everyday, the memories remained, a quiet, cherished part of who I was. As the evening drew to a close, a sense of closure washed over me. Peace settled in, warm and comforting. I was ready to move forward, to build a life filled with joy, creativity, and the enduring friendships that had sustained me. Stepping out into the cool New York night, the city lights blurring around me, I felt a quiet confidence. I was stronger, wiser, and more open to whatever life had in store. My tiny backyard, a haven of green amidst the city concrete, was quiet as I sat on the stoop, watching the hardy roses sway in the evening breeze. The past months had been a journey, a winding path of love, loss, healing, and self-discovery. Jake's memory lingered, a soft melody, a reminder of the unexpected joy he'd brought, the lessons learned. Jessica joined me on the stoop, her presence a quiet comfort. We sat in peaceful silence as the city sounds softened to a low hum. "I'm glad you're painting again, Mom," she said, her voice warm. I smiled, feeling the truth of her words. "Thank you, Jess. Life has a way of surprising us, doesn't it?" She nodded, and together we watched the last sliver of sun dip below the horizon, the sky painted in hues of pink and gold. My life, marked by unexpected turns and challenges, had brought me to a place of peace, a place where I could move forward with an open heart, a renewed sense of purpose. As the stars began to prick the darkening sky, I felt a quiet certainty. I was ready for whatever came next, ready to embrace each moment with grace, with gratitude.